Welcome. My name is Chris. I use she, her pronouns, and I am this morning's worship associate. We gather in worship to find meaning and to live more deeply. Worship creates connections within, among, and beyond us, calling us to our better selves, calling us to live with wisdom and compassion. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, we are glad you are here today. If today is your first time with us, we'd love to get to know you. Right after the service, you're invited into the welcome room, which is in the south foyer. If you are online, our visitor form is being dropped into chat now. You may have noticed we don't have a paper order of service, but you can use your phone to access a copy by scanning QR codes that are around the building in various locations. There you'll find the names of authors, composers, the text of the choir anthems, and resources used in our service today. Now, let's take a few minutes to get to know our neighbors and greet them, especially those you don't know yet. And I will invite you back to the service with the ring of the bell. We light the chalice, a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, with words today from Tracy Cochran. Our lives move from hope to hope, and all hope is hope for change, from selfish to selfless, from petty to profound, with more or less awareness and compassion. We seek freedom from suffering and from separation. We seek ways to be more vibrantly alive, to be with life. And now, let's say together the words of our mission, which affirm our shared purpose. Empowered by love, we transform ourselves and serve our world.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. Nice to see you all here. Hello, Zoom friends. I am the Reverend Jen Youngsun Ryu, and I use the pronouns she and her. I trust that you are all reading your weekly emails, right? And you are reading all the announcement slides that come up here, right? And you're reading the bulletin board in the back of the sanctuary. So I probably don't have to say this, but I will anyway. So, because all of you already know that next Saturday, for example, we are holding a Braver Angels workshop to teach everyone how to talk to family members who may hold differing political, religious perspectives than us. And you probably already know that we are making meals for families staying at the St. Vinny Family Shelter. And actually, we still need a few more meal contributions for next Tuesday, November the 15th. So if you are able to help with that, please go to your weekly connection and sign up there. Or see Barb. See Barb Prentice. Do your hand again. Thank you. Today, our ministerial intern, Tina D. Yo, is in San Diego. Lucky her. She's there for a meeting of the Ministerial Fellowship Network, where she gets to spend these next several days with ministers in our movement who are seeking ordination. So, because she's not here with us in person, she has recorded a message on video for us.
Hello, my name is Tina Dio, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am your ministerial intern here at UUCE for the year. And I have an announcement for y'all this morning. So today in our service, we are talking about proposed changes in our UUA bylaws through the Article 2 Study Commission's newly published draft. Article 2 of the Unitarian Universalist Association bylaws holds our principles and our purposes and is the foundation for all of the work of our UUA and its member congregations and covenanted communities. So as we look forward towards possible upcoming changes to Article 2, it is also good to remind ourselves to look back at the many changes that have occurred throughout our history. And this principle of looking forward as we look back is the principle of Sankofa. And many of you are familiar with this term. It is an African word from the Akan tribe in Ghana. And the word is derived from the words san, return, ko, go, fa, look, seek, and take. So as we look forward, we look back. And so this coming Wednesday, November 16th, and for the next 5 weeks, we are offering a time for folks in this community to join in looking back at some of the turning points in our UU history. Linda Krenicki, Ryan Doppelmayr, and myself will be co-facilitating this course. And Turning Points in UU history is a 5-session exploration of turning points and controversies in our history. You will delve into the complexities of these historical moments through primary texts and learn about how they shaped Unitarian Universalism and how we relate to our faith today. So each 90-minute session reflects on the sides involved in the controversy, inviting you to put yourself in the shoes of those who lived through it and to consider the various perspectives. So join us on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on Zoom or in person for this 5-week class. We will start this Wednesday, November 16th at 7 p.m. So please look in your UUCE weekly or on the full facility calendar on our website for the link, or join in person here in the chapel. And I hope to see many of you there this Wednesday. Bye.
Thank you, Tina. Come, let us consider how our faith responds to change. Come, let us worship together.
So my name is Ryan Doppelmayr. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm here to invite the kids, or anyone really, who would like to come up and have a chat with me. I've got some cozy carpet squares if you'd like to join me. Or not, stay at your seats. But I need your help today. So maybe you can help me out. I hope so. Because I have a friend, and this friend has never been to a church before. There are a lot of folks like that here in Eugene. So I was wondering if you could help me explain church to this friend of mine. Can we do that? Okay. So this is my friend. This is Freddie. Hello. So Freddie has never been to a church before. So I thought that we would start by telling them where we're at. What is the name of our church? Yeah?
Wait, you realize he's at a church right now?
What? Well, where are they? Where are we right now?
A church.
A church. What's our church's name?
UUCE.
So that's the shortcut way, UUCE. What does that stand for?
Unitarian Universalist Church in Oregon.
Ah,
In Eugene.
yes! Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene. Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene. Whew! That's a mouthful. Well, what do you do here? So what do we do here? Why are we here? Adeline.
We partly help greet people and help them belong.
Ah, I love that. We help greet people and help them belong. What are some of the other things we do here? Anyone? I see like 100 people here. What are some of the things that we do here at church? Victoria.
Eat snacks.
We eat snacks. We greet people. What else do we do? We drink coffee. What else do we do? We're trying to figure out the meaning of life. Whoa, my head's hurting already. What else do we do?
Teach respect for all human beings.
We teach respect for all human beings. Oh, love it. Anything else? We sing. We sing. We sing. We greet people. We drink coffee. We eat snacks. We figure out the meaning of life. We just gave some money to help pay some people. That seems pretty important. Anything else? Any other ideas? What else do we do? Wow. What do you do here? Well, so my job here is the director of faith formation. And I think all those are good ideas. And I think all those are part of coming together to teach and learn from each other, right? I've heard it said that faith formation is all we do, and all we do is faith formation. So I think all of that is a great way of saying we come here to teach and to learn together. Wow. Well, what is the most important thing that you learn here? So that's a hard question. What do we learn here? What are some of the things we learn here? Woo! I heard radical love. Wow. So this is a big question. It takes a lot of brain power. So I think that for this question, I need your help. And maybe you could help me going forward, figuring out what we are trying to teach and learn from each other here at this church. So I made it a little complicated. I have a little paper that you might see on your seat. There's actually also going to be a QR code up there on the screen. So if you've got a handy dandy smartphone, you could pull it out and click on it, and it's going to ask you where you go to church, and then it's going to ask you, what do you learn here at church? What do we teach and learn here at church? Wow, I really want to know. Yeah. So you could use your phone to get that QR code and answer that question for me, or you could scribble it on that little slip of paper that's on your seat, and we would come by and collect it, because that is going to help us going forward, figuring out what are we here, what is our mission, what are we doing here together on Sunday morning? Stuff. Okay.
Stuff.
Thank you. So now I'm going to ask my greeters, my ushers, to have a second collection. If someone has a piece of paper that they'd like to add with that answer for me, that's Alien's going to help us again. And we're going to invite our kids to go back to the classroom for a lesson, or stay here and listen to a great sermon. If you have a kid who is under 5, or if it's their first time here, please welcome back to introduce them to our teachers. And thank you for being with us this morning.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Emmett. My pronouns are he and him, and I am a member of your Board of Trustees. At this time, I invite all who have signed the UUC membership book in the past few months to come forward as I call your name. Jean Whitley, Robin Whitley, River Hennigan Caswell, Liz LaVenture, Eli Salerno, Lynn Lockhart. All right. Rhiannon Chance Mulford. Arthur Rutledge. All right. Jill Switzer. Juan Eduardo Wolf. Donna Stearns. Yakov Levine. And Stephanie Dorman. Their stories and photos will be in upcoming weekly newsletters, so please read those as we establish that that's something we all do, right? And make a special effort to get to know our newest members. So to you guys, friends, some of you have taken part in our Inquirers classes to learn more about our church and the UU faith. Others transferred your membership from another UU congregation. Some of you are now 15 years old or older and have started 9th grade, which makes you eligible to sign the book, and you did. Whatever brought you to this threshold, you have said yes to being an active member of this spiritual community. Yay! When you signed the membership book to this free church, you did not sign on to a set of beliefs, creeds, or doctrine. Rather, you entered into a covenant that describes how we want to be in relationship with one another. So, I invite everyone to say together our covenant of right relations. Okay, good. It's already there. We covenant to build a religious community guided by respect and sustained by our principles. We will listen appreciatively, speak with care, express gratitude, honor our differences, and assume good intentions. We will communicate directly, honestly, and compassionately, particularly when we are in conflict. When we hurt one another, we will ask for forgiveness and make amends, and when we are hurt, we will try to forgive and reconnect in spirit of right relationship. In celebration of the common mission that unites us, we will abide by this covenant. May we be transformed and enriched by every new member who joins this community. Yeah.
Each week we set aside a time for meditation and prayers and for the sharing of joys and sorrows through rituals of placing a stone in water, lighting a candle, or writing in our book. You can do this at any time in the service, but if you didn't have a chance to do it earlier and would like to do it now, I invite you to come up and do that. And while you're doing that, those who remain seated can join in a guided meditation. So find a position that is comfortable for you. Close your eyes if you want to. Bring awareness to a point in kind of right between your eyebrows and maybe about an inch behind your skull. So this is a place in your brain. And if you can bring awareness to that space, some people call this the third eye. It takes a little bit of effort to bring your attention to space. And as you bring your attention there, if you want to, you can say the words of metta, our loving kindness meditation. Bringing attention to that space, you can say to yourself, may I be happy. May I be well. May I be at peace. Now bring attention to a space that's about 6 feet from you. We've all learned what 6 feet is, right? So either 6 feet above you, 6 feet to the right, to the left, in front or behind you. Just pick a spot that's 6 feet from you and find your awareness in that space. Think about the people occupying that space. If you want to, you can say to them, may you be happy. May you be well. May you be at peace. Now let your mind travel a little bit further, maybe a mile or 2. Maybe that's your own home. Think about all the people and beings within those few miles. Say to them, may you be happy. May you be well. May you be at peace. And now expand your awareness to 100 miles out. 100 miles to the north, 100 miles to the ocean, 100 miles to the east, 100 miles to the south. Think about all the life that inhabits that space. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be at peace. And now, if you can, expand your awareness to encircle the entire earth. Can you do that again and allow your mind to expand, to be aware of the space beyond our earth? How far we can go with our minds. There's infinite space available to us, reaching out and also reaching in. May each one of you be happy. May each one of you be well. May each one of you be at peace. Blessed be.
From the proposed draft of Article 2 of the Unitarian Universalist Association bylaws. Love inspires and powers the passion with which we embody our values. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all people thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression within individuals and our institutions. We are accountable to each other for this work. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely share our faith, presence, and resources. Compassionate generosity connects us one to another in relationships of mutuality. Evolution. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Evolution is fundamental to life and to our Unitarian Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, theology, and experience. We covenant to learn from one another and openly explore the depth and breadth of our many wisdoms. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain a fully inclusive and accessible community of communities. Interdependence. We honor the sacred, interdependent web of all existence. With humility, we understand our place in the web. We covenant to care for and respect the earth and all beings by fostering relationships of mutuality. We work to repair the bonds we have broken.
Last week, we talked about all the different ways in which people respond to change. So sometimes we just refuse to engage it, right? Refuse to learn about the impact, either good or bad, of that particular change. We sometimes just turn away from the feelings that arise when unexpected change disrupts our lives. We just don't want to think about it. Sometimes we choose to see only the good in whatever change comes our way. Even if that change seems really bad, we just want to think about the positive sides of that change rather than to dwell on the negative consequences. At times when faced with change and all we can see are the downsides, all the bad things that could possibly happen and all the reasons that we hate what is happening. So we say, no, I will not accept this. And then there are times when we are able to hold some equanimity. We can hold both the good and the not so good, the negative and positive sides of change. And then we're able to make a conscious decision to accept that change. Institutions, likewise, have to face that change and face the fact that change alone is unchanging, that the very nature of the world is change itself. Now, some institutions are better at this than others. The scientific community, they seem to be pretty good at adapting and changing. Science seems to thrive on change, while religion kind of clings to a dusty past, right? But actually, religion has adapted and changed in its history. It's adapted to changes in culture and society. I mean, it happens very slowly, like very slowly. When we say moving at the speed of church, it means probably about 10 years behind the curve, I think. We always said in seminary that the churches are about 10, 15 years behind what's going on in the seminary. Obviously, the religions that persist today are the ones that have figured out how to transform themselves in a changing world. Others have been lost entirely to time, and still others are on the verge of dying out. What will become of Unitarian Universalism? There's been a lot of hand-wringing about that. With just over 1,000 member congregations in the entire world, the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, has fewer than 200,000 members. Compare that with the Southern Baptists, for example, at 14 million. So, as most of you know, the Unitarians and the Universalists came from the Protestant tradition. We like to say that we were part of the radical Reformation movement because our ancestors wanted to change things more dramatically than the followers of Martin Luther, for example. The Anabaptists, any of you heard of the Anabaptists? They influenced the Quakers and the Baptists and the Congregationalists, whom we consider kind of distant cousins. They never saw Christianity as a way to define or control society. The changes they wanted had to do with establishing local communities of committed believers who wanted to live together in freedom so they could follow the teachings of Jesus. They were not interested at all in establishing a state religion. But this was the 16th century, and talk like that in Zurich, Switzerland, was heresy. The Anabaptists were burned at the stake, they were drowned, they were tortured, and they were expelled from their hometowns. Around this same time, in Italy, a man named Faustus Socinius was born. Now, he, in his lifetime, would travel all around Europe and would finally establish a community of nonconformists in this commonwealth called Polish Lithuania. At that time, it was known as the most tolerant country in Europe. In fact, Krakow was sometimes called the heretics' asylum. The year was 1565. And this is the year that one of our very well-known historians, Earl Morse Wilbur, calls the historical beginnings of organized Unitarianism. Throughout his life, Socinius taught that living a moral life was much more important than holding correct beliefs. He claimed that human beings needed the freedom to live and choose this kind of life. He didn't believe in state-sanctioned church. He also denied the possibility of eternal punishment in hell. He denied the Trinity. He denied original sin. He preached that there was no atonement through the death of Jesus. All of this were conclusions that he came to by studying carefully the scriptures. So because of these teachings, even though he was living in Poland in a very tolerant atmosphere, Socinius still suffered harassment and beatings and the public burning of a lot of his papers. So time passed, and humans progressed. The age of enlightenment came, bringing new knowledge. There were also natural disasters and world wars that killed millions of people in very short periods of time, and it shocked, those kinds of things shocked the collective consciousness. Archaeologists discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it changed the way we understood the authorship of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. Events like this pushed religion to respond in one way or another. Do you remember 1925? There was a teacher in Tennessee who was charged with teaching that humans evolved from animals. In fact, that very act of teaching that knowledge was illegal at the time. William Jennings Bryan successfully prosecuted that case by arguing that American society would be in danger if the literal authority of Genesis were ever to be overthrown. Even though Bryan won this case, this religious argument was not in keeping with the accelerating pace of social, cultural, economic, technological change that was going on then and continues even faster today. I know that religion may be slower to keep up with change than other institutions, but it is important that we keep trying and keep adapting, not simply to keep up our market share, but because adaptation and evolution are basic principles of a whole and integrated life. This year, we, the member congregations of the UUA, have been presented with a big change to the way we define ourselves as Unitarian Universalists. Article 2 of the UUA bylaws is the place where we write down our name, for example, how we name ourselves. It's where we write down our purpose and our principles. How many of you have had a chance to read the proposed changes? So you know that this new language is very, very different from the ones that we have been living with for decades. Most of us know Unitarian Universalism by the 7 principles. They have become like a sacred text to us, as if they were etched in marble somewhere. But we are a progressive and liberal faith, which means that we are a people of open and continuing revelation. And that even as we preserve order in the midst of chaotic change, we also change in the midst of order. You can find the draft language using the link that's in the electronic order of service. You can see it in the newsletter description of today's service, or you can just Google UUA Article 2 draft. Chris read a part of it as today's reading. The final draft is going to go to the UUA board in January. You can send the commission your comments for the rest of this month and then the rest of December if you want to. And then delegates from our church and other churches will vote whether to adopt this new language or not at our June annual meeting called General Assembly. So I want to just highlight 4 big changes in case you don't get around to reading this. First of all, the wording of the covenant has been changed. It used to say, we, the member congregations, covenant to promote and affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Now it says, we covenant to support and assist each other. This brings us closer to the original intent of covenant, which is to bind us, not to our principles, but bind us to each other. Number 2, rather than a linear list of 7 or 8 principles, the Commission is proposing a circle of 6 values that move around the center, which is love. Love, which the authors call the enduring force that holds us together. The third big change, rather than enumerating the 6 sources which our living tradition draws from, we have just a short, brief statement about the diversity of sources of wisdom without actually naming each one of them. And finally, there is a brand new section called inclusion that you can't find in the current version. And it acknowledges the barriers to inclusion, and it lists some new commitments to replacing those barriers with ever-widening circles of solidarity and mutual respect. These are really big changes, and I know that a lot of people are going to have some strong emotional responses to them. When faced with such big change, it's best to take time with it. And so the Commission asks all of us to read this draft at least 3 times. The first time is so that you can notice how you feel. Where do you notice those feelings moving in your body? And then read it a second time to notice what thoughts come up. Can you notice the thoughts without becoming attached to them? Can you just observe the thoughts that come? And then finally, read it a third time before starting to compose feedback or suggestions. You know, this is probably a good practice for a lot of different occasions. Like when you get an email, instead of immediately responding, maybe take some time, read it 3 times. These changes reflect our faith's shared commitment to personal, institutional, and cultural change, rooted in anti-oppression, multiculturalism, and anti-racism. This is a commitment that has grown stronger and stronger and stronger over the years. These changes come to us with hope that they might lead us to be a relevant, powerful force for spiritual and moral growth, for healing and for justice. And they come to us as a powerful vision of spiritual communities that become active networks of collective care, restoration, and justice. Someone once said that it is the business of the future to be dangerous. Every step forward involves risk-taking. May we meet this and every invitation to change with mindfulness, courage, and love. May it be ever so. Blessed be. Amen. Let's say together the words of our closing, which are right there. We extinguish this flame. but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now go into this day and into this fresh new week, open to the change life offers you. It may feel like the last thing you'd ever want, but you won't know until you say yes. Go in love, my friends. Go in peace.